Stop everything you are doing right now. Close whatever else is on your screen. Put down your phone if you're holding it. Because what I am about to tell you in the next 60 seconds has the potential to reverse something that millions of seniors over 70 have been told is permanent, irreversible, and simply part of getting old. I am talking about memory loss, the forgetting of names, the walking into a room and having no idea why you went there, the losing words mid-sentence, the repeating yourself in conversations, the fear, that quiet, terrifying fear, that your mind is slipping away from you and there is nothing you can do about it. Your doctor has told you this is normal aging. Your neurologist has told you there is no treatment, that the brain simply declines with age and the best you can do is manage it. They are wrong, and the proof is sitting in a bowl in your kitchen right now. A single walnut, that costs less than 10 cents. That contains something so powerful for the aging brain that researchers at UCLA, the University of Barcelona, and the Walnuts and Healthy Aging Study Team have published landmark papers on its effects. One walnut, every morning, for 7 days, and I am going to show you exactly what it does to your brain, hour by hour, starting from the moment you eat it. But first, Helen, because her story is the reason I am making this video today. Helen was 71 years old when her daughter brought her to see me. She was scared. Not in the way people are scared about pain or physical symptoms, but in the deepest, most personal way a human being can be scared. She was forgetting her grandchildren's names. Not occasionally, regularly. She would look at her 7-year-old granddaughter, a child she had held as a newborn, watched take her first steps, read bedtime stories to for years, and the name would simply not be there. She would smile and cover it, call her sweetheart and darling, and later she would sit in her car in the parking lot and cry. She was also losing things constantly. Keys, glasses, phone. Every single morning began with a frantic search. She had started putting sticky notes everywhere. She had stopped reading books because she couldn't follow the plot from chapter to chapter. She had turned down a trip to Italy with her sister, a trip she had dreamed about for 20 years, because she was afraid of getting confused and lost in a foreign country. Her neurologist had given her a cognitive assessment. Her score was in what he called the mild cognitive impairment range. He told her, "There is no medication for this stage. We watch and wait. Come back in 6 months." Helen looked at me and said, "I am not willing to watch and wait. I want to fight this." I told her about the walnuts. She looked at me the way everyone looks at me when I say it, skeptical, a little disappointed. She said, "A walnut? Really? That's it?" I said, "Try it for 30 days. Then come back and tell me what you notice." 30 days later, Helen came back. She was different. Not dramatically, not miraculously, but genuinely, measurably different. She had remembered her granddaughter's name every single day of the past 2 weeks without hesitation. She had finished reading a novel. She had booked the trip to Italy. Her 6-month cognitive reassessment, moved up at her request, showed improvement in 3 of the 5 domains tested. Her neurologist told her daughter, "I don't know what she's doing, but whatever it is, it's working. Let me tell you exactly why." Most people believe memory loss after 70 is about neurons dying. That brain cells simply die off with age and the brain shrinks and there is nothing to be done. This is partially true, but it is the least important part of the picture, and focusing on it leads to exactly the kind of fatalism that Helen's neurologist expressed. Watch and wait. The more important truth, the one that opens the door to doing something, involves 3 processes that are happening in your brain right now that have almost nothing to do with neuron death. Process 1. Neuroinflammation. Your brain contains immune cells called microglia. In a healthy young brain, microglia act as the brain's cleanup crew, removing waste products, clearing dead cells, fighting pathogens. In an aging brain, particularly one exposed to a modern diet high in processed food and refined sugar, microglia become chronically overactivated. They begin producing inflammatory compounds called cytokines. These cytokines damage the synapses, the connections between neurons that are responsible for forming and retrieving memories. You don't lose the memory because the neuron dies. You lose access to it because the synaptic connection is inflamed and disrupted. Process 2. Reduced neuroplasticity. Your brain produces a protein called BDNF, brain-derived neurotrophic factor. BDNF is sometimes called the brain's fertilizer. It stimulates the growth of new neurons and new synaptic connections. It is the molecular basis of learning and memory formation. BDNF levels decline dramatically after 60, reduced by as much as 40% compared to young adults. Without BDNF, The brain loses its ability to form new memories efficiently and retrieve old ones reliably. Process 3. Oxidative stress in brain tissue. Your brain uses 20% of your body's oxygen, despite being only 2% of your body weight. This enormous oxygen consumption produces reactive oxygen species, free radicals, that damage cellular membranes, DNA, and mitochondria in brain cells. Chronic oxidative stress in the brain is now understood to be one of the primary drivers of cognitive decline in aging adults. Neuroinflammation, reduced BDNF, oxidative stress. These three processes are what walnuts address, simultaneously, specifically, powerfully. Walnuts are the only nut with significant amounts of alpha-linolenic acid, ALA, a plant-based omega-3 fatty acid. They also contain L-gitannins, polyphenols that are converted by gut bacteria into urolithins, compounds that cross the blood-brain barrier and accumulate directly in brain tissue. And they contain melatonin, folate, vitamin E, and a specific polyphenol called juglone found nowhere else in nature. This combination makes walnuts uniquely, specifically, extraordinarily beneficial for the aging brain. Let me show you what the research says. The most important study, and the one that changed how the scientific community thinks about walnuts and cognitive aging, is the Walnuts and Healthy Aging Study, WAHA, conducted simultaneously at the Hospital Clinic of Barcelona and Loma Linda University in California. 708 healthy older adults, 2 years of follow-up, rigorous, randomized, controlled design. Half the participants added 30 to 60 grams of walnuts to their daily diet. The other half made no change. After 2 years, the walnut group showed significantly better cognitive function on measures of memory, processing speed, and executive function. But the most striking finding was in brain imaging. MRI scans of the walnut group showed measurably less brain aging, the physical shrinkage and white matter degradation that normally accompanies aging, compared to the control group. Walnuts didn't just slow cognitive decline, they appeared to slow the physical aging of the brain itself. A second landmark study from UCLA analyzed data from the National Health and Nutrition Examination Survey covering over 20,000 adults. Adults who ate walnuts regularly had significantly better cognitive test scores across all age groups, but the effect was largest in adults over 65. The walnut eaters in this age group scored 33% better on cognitive tests than non-walnut eaters, 33% better cognitive test scores from eating walnuts. How does this work at the cellular level? The ALA omega-3 fatty acids in walnuts reduce neuroinflammation by inhibiting the same inflammatory pathways, COX2 and NF-κB, that are overactivated in aging microglia. Less inflammation means better synaptic function. Better synaptic function means better memory retrieval. The L-gitannins and their gut-derived metabolites, urolithins, cross directly into brain tissue and activate a process called mitophagy, the removal of damaged mitochondria from brain cells. Old, dysfunctional mitochondria are replaced with new, efficient ones. Brain cells produce energy more effectively, cognitive function improves, and the polyphenols in walnuts, including juglone, increase BDNF production, the brain's fertilizer. New synaptic connections form. Memory consolidation improves. The brain becomes more plastic, more capable of learning and remembering at the cellular level. Now, exactly how many walnuts, when to eat them, and how to prepare them for maximum benefit. How many? 1 whole walnut. That is 2 walnut halves, approximately 7 grams. This sounds almost insultingly small, but the WAHA study used 30 to 60 grams, which is 4 to 8 whole walnuts. I recommend starting with 1 and building to 2 to 3 over the first week. More is not necessarily better above 4 walnuts. Beyond that dose, the caloric density becomes significant without proportional brain benefit. When to eat them? First thing in the morning, before breakfast, before coffee, before anything else. Why first thing in the morning? Because your brain is in its most receptive state immediately after waking. During sleep, your brain's glymphatic system, its waste removal system, has been working to clear the metabolic waste that accumulates during waking hours. You wake up with a relatively clean cellular environment. The polyphenols and omega-3s from walnuts absorbed on an empty stomach reach the brain faster and in higher concentrations than if consumed with or after food. Additionally, the blood-brain barrier is most permeable in the morning. The urolithins and elagitannins that your gut bacteria produce from walnut polyphenols cross into brain tissue more efficiently during the morning window. How to prepare them? Raw, not roasted. Roasting walnuts at high temperatures degrades the ALA fatty acids and reduces the polyphenol content. If you find raw walnuts too bitter, soak them in water overnight in the refrigerator. This removes some of the tannins responsible for bitterness and actually improves bioavailability by beginning the breakdown of phytic acid, a compound that can interfere with mineral absorption. Eat them slowly, chew thoroughly. The mechanical breakdown of the walnut in your mouth begins the release of polyphenols into your digestive system. Swallowing them whole or barely chewed reduces the surface area available for digestive enzymes and reduces the amount of beneficial compounds released. One important note: if you have a tree nut allergy, walnuts are clearly not appropriate for you. And if you are on blood-thinning medication, the ALA in walnuts has mild anticoagulant properties. At the dose of 1 to 3 walnuts per day, this is generally considered safe, but inform your doctor. I want to address the question I know many of you are asking. If the evidence for walnuts and brain health is this strong, why hasn't my neurologist ever mentioned it? The honest answer involves understanding how medical education works and how treatment guidelines are developed. Medical training focuses almost entirely on pharmaceutical interventions. The average physician receives fewer than 20 hours of nutrition education across 4 years of medical school. Food as medicine, the idea that specific dietary components can prevent, slow, or reverse disease processes, is simply not part of the standard medical curriculum. Treatment guidelines, the protocols that guide what doctors recommend, are developed based on large, expensive clinical trials. Those trials are funded almost entirely by pharmaceutical companies. A walnut costs 10 cents. Nobody can patent a walnut. Nobody profits from recommending walnuts. So no pharmaceutical company is funding the large trials that would push walnut consumption into standard treatment guidelines for cognitive decline. The research exists. It is published in peer-reviewed journals. It is conducted at world-class institutions, but it doesn't get turned into a prescription pad recommendation because there is no financial mechanism to make that happen. This is not a conspiracy. It is not malice. It is simply how the system works. And understanding how the system works is why I make these videos, to give you access to the research that exists outside the pharmaceutical pipeline. Here is what Helen experienced, and what the research suggests you can expect. Days 1 through 3. Helen noticed nothing cognitive, but she told me something interesting. She slept better. The melatonin naturally present in walnuts, in a bioavailable form that your body can use directly, was improving her sleep quality. And better sleep means better overnight memory consolidation. The brain was already beginning to benefit, even before the polyphenols and omega-3s had accumulated to therapeutic levels. Days 4 through 7. Helen started keeping a small journal, my suggestion, where she wrote one thing she remembered each day that she might previously have forgotten. By day 6, she wrote, "Remembered to call my sister back." This sounds trivial. For Helen, it was not trivial. She had been forgetting callbacks for months. Week 2. The name retrieval began improving. Helen described it as, "It's like the file cabinet is opening faster." Before, I would reach for a name and get nothing, or it would come to me an hour later. Now it's coming within seconds. This matches exactly what the research shows. Polyphenol accumulation in brain tissue improving synaptic retrieval speed. Week 3. Helen finished reading a novel, front to back. She told me, "I kept the characters straight the whole way through. I knew who everyone was. I hadn't been able to do that in 2 years. She cried when she told me this. Reading had been one of her greatest pleasures for her entire adult life. She had been grieving its loss quietly. It was coming back. Week 4, day 30. Helen came in for her follow-up. She had booked the trip to Italy. She was doing the crossword puzzle in the newspaper again, something she had abandoned 18 months earlier when it became too frustrating. Her granddaughter's name, Clara, came immediately, naturally, without effort. Her neurologist moved up her cognitive reassessment at her request. 3 of 5 cognitive domains showed measurable improvement. He told her daughter, "I don't know what she's doing, but whatever it is, it's working. 1 walnut, every morning, 30 days. The single dietary change that will amplify everything the walnut does, and the food category that is actively destroying your memory every time you eat it. Ultra-processed food with refined sugar and industrial seed oils. Here is the specific mechanism. Refined sugar causes something called advanced glycation end products, AGEs, which cross-link proteins throughout your body, including in your brain. AGEs activate the same microglial inflammatory response I described earlier, but through a different pathway. They essentially turn up the neuroinflammation dial to maximum. Industrial seed oils, soybean, corn, sunflower, canola, are extremely high in omega-6 linoleic acid. Your brain needs a balanced ratio of omega-3 to omega-6 fatty acids to function properly. The modern processed food diet delivers a ratio of approximately 20 to 1 omega-6 to omega-3. In brain tissue, this imbalance promotes the same neuroinflammatory pathways that degrade synaptic function and impair memory. The walnut's ALA omega-3 is working to shift that ratio back toward balance. Every serving of processed food containing seed oils is working against it. You don't have to eliminate all processed food, but in the 30 days you are trying this protocol, reduce it dramatically. Eliminate cooking with vegetable oils, reduce packaged snacks, fast food, and fried food. This single change, combined with the morning walnut, will produce results that neither alone would achieve as quickly. Helen is going to Italy in September. She told me last week. She is more excited about this trip than anything she has done in years. Not just because Italy is beautiful, because 6 months ago she was afraid to leave her own neighborhood alone, and now she is boarding a plane to a foreign country with her sister, because her mind is back. One walnut changed that. I want to be precise. One walnut combined with better sleep, reduced processed food, and consistent daily use over 30 days changed that. There was no miracle. There was biology, working exactly as it is designed to work when you give it the right inputs. Your brain is not fixed. It is not finished. It is a living organ that responds, at any age, to the right signals. One walnut, raw, every morning, before breakfast, for 30 days. Keep a journal. Write one thing you remembered each day that you might have forgotten before. Watch the list change, and then come back and tell me in the comments. Leave your age and the one memory challenge that frustrates you most right now. I read every single comment, every one. And before I go, one request. Leave a comment below right now. Tell me your age and your #1 health challenge at the moment, whether it's memory, blood pressure, joint pain, blood sugar, or something else entirely. Write it below. I read every single comment, every one. Your comment might be exactly what someone else needs to see to know they are not alone. Subscribe, because tomorrow I have something just as important for you. I will see you then.